What's good, guys? What's good, man? Tonight is going to be an amazing, power packed Instagram live going live with Jalen Graphics. And I mean, you guys do not want to miss this one. If you missed any of them, hey, you didn't want to miss those either. But look, we're going to keep this going every single week. That shit goes now. Let's see. There we go.
Hi,
Okay, great.
I'm
Sometimes
good. How are
Instagram give me a
you?
hard time, but you came in with no issue. How you doing?
Thank
Bless, bless, bless. So great to be in your presence. Been watching you for a minute. I'm ready to learn, and I'm sure everybody on here is ready to learn. So everybody probably already
Yes. Well,
knows you,
hello,
but you
everyone.
can just go
First
ahead
off,
and give
thank
them
you
the
for
intro
having
just
me.
in
I'm
case they
super
don't.
excited. I'm Jalen. I'm the owner of Jalen Graphics Marketing Agency, where I provide digital marketing services to my clients, social media management, product photography. The list goes on.
Most definitely, most definitely. So I know we on limited time, and I want to pick
Okay.
your brain as much as possible. So I mean, pretty much, I just want to go ahead and jump in. Some of these questions that I formulated, were questions that I wanted to know as well as a graphic designer, because I know that anytime that there's a learning experience, I always say that I'm a student always. So I'm always willing to learn from other people. You know what I'm saying? So let's see if you still on. You gave me a little error message. Let's see. I think it like bugged out. Let me see. What just happened, guys? Okay, let's try this again. Yeah.
Me either. I don't know. We're
So,
back.
I'm not sure what happened. Okay, great, great, great. Okay, so one of the first questions that I wanted to ask you, and it's like it doesn't even have to be recent, like just your whole journey. Like, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a graphic designer? Building something is always the hardest part, like starting. So, what were some challenges
Yeah.
that you were faced
Yes, so
with that
I
would
would
kind of had you
definitely
kind of,
say
on a
a
rocky
lot of my
road?
challenges were in the beginning of my journey, being as though I was learning. I'm a self-taught graphic designer, so I was kind of teaching myself the ropes, going through those obstacles. But the number one challenge I can definitely say was not having policies in place. And I'm sure you could probably relate. Like policies are really important when owning a marketing agency, a graphic design business. Something
Yeah.
simple as not having a limit to revisions or not having a requirement for professional pictures. So things like that was definitely challenging. Um, to add on to that, another challenge I faced was thinking that every client was my client and I didn't have like a specific target audience. Now I do. If you go to my
Oh
page, you
yeah.
can tell that I work with a lot of people in the beauty industry. But back then, I was just working with anybody and working with different types of industries. It is difficult as far as like their turnaround time, the way that they'll talk to you. So those are definitely like my top two.
Oh, okay. And like even with that, like did you just out of nowhere was just like, all right, I need to change this, or was there like
Yeah,
some type
so
of
my
mentorship
sister
that was in place that
ultimately
was like,
she
hey
is
girl, you
like
got to
my
get your stuff
business
together?
mentor, but she was also a self-taught entrepreneur as well. But I would say after any bad situation, I would learn from that
Mm.
situation and say, okay, you know what? Instead of me doing 5 million changes, how about I put like a change limit in place?
Right.
So I feel like after a situation with a client, that would like prompt me to put something in place.
Wow. Because I'm not gonna lie, like that whole limit thing, like the revisions, like
Yeah,
like people like if you don't set something in place, like people
definitely.
will just run your business, and tell you what you need to do. So that's very good information right there. So like what strategies have you building your client base? Like what are some of the things that you noticed was like, okay, I tried this,
Yeah.
but this
So
right
I would
here,
say the
this
top
is the one that
strategy
really
I
helped
have
me
is
grow
something
my
simple,
client
and it's
base.
just educating clientele. I feel like I work with a lot of startup businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with entrepreneurs who don't know what a transparent logo is or
Mm-hmm.
don't know what a hex color code is. So just breaking down those terms and educating clients, like the importance of having a logo, the importance of having presence, the importance of having a photo shoot with your brand. Just explaining to them how that helps longevity wise. That's definitely something that my clients appreciate. I work with a lot of clients that would say, you're the first graphic designer I spoke to on the phone. A lot of graphic designers on conversation. So that's like another thing. I just love educating my clients, number one, and also like basically like dumbing things down for them just so they can understand it, because something that I may know, they may not know. Something that may be common sense to us graphic designers, they probably won't understand, you know?
And I've noticed that as well, like with clients, like I get that a lot of times, like just the whole PNG and stuff like that. And sometimes they'll send a PNG, but the background is still on, but the file itself is a PNG or stuff like that. And it's so crazy that you said it, because it's like when you're in this world and you're familiar with these terms, you can kind of suspect that everybody knows and they don't. So even with that, just to dig a little deeper into what you had said, so like even when you're creating the content for it, like, are you creating the content literally showing people, hey, you guys, this is the difference between this is a PNG, this is a JPEG, or is this just something that's going on as you're consulting
about
them,
it?
or
So
are you actually making the
I like
content
to talk to people. Of course, email's good because you have like a track record, you have a thread. But when I do like my Zoom consultations, I had 4 Zoom calls today. Like on those Zoom calls, I said, do you have your brand board? My client was like, well, what's a brand board? So that's when I broke down the importance of a brand board, the types of logos. And she was like, well, I made my logo on Canva. So I broke down like why you shouldn't make your logo on Canva. So it's more so just like a over the phone type of conversation. But as far as like content, I'll post in my story. I'm very transparent with my audience, which a lot of people appreciate. So I would like put in my story, like, you not having professional pictures, you can't work with me. Like, it's just like that. So I feel like a lot of my clients, they just appreciate me being direct, and then also me just having these policies up front, because it sets a standard. Like, I used to be that graphic designer where you could come with me with iPhone pictures and I would try to like finesse it. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I don't want to put this work because this isn't my best work. So once I started putting those policies in place, of course I was losing clients, because I had those clients who would say, well, I don't want to do a photo shoot, I can't afford it, blah, blah, blah. But I also had those clients that were like willing to invest in their brand. So overall, it's definitely just a learning process. And it's also just weaving certain clients out just so you can have the clients that you ideally want to work with.
Wow. And yo, that's so big too, because it's like there's so many times, like in my mind, like sometimes we have this hustle mentality. It's like, look, nah, bro, we not leaving no money on the table. All right, you ain't got a logo. Okay, it's looking like this. Look, I'm gonna just throw it in Photoshop. I'm gonna just try to use that magic eraser and try to do the best. But then, like you said, like I'm sure the reason being is because it's going to reflect your work. So if you're not providing me with something that I know that I'm going to be able to do my best work with, I don't want this to even represent me. And I feel like that can do more harm, because like, what if someone be like, who did that? Jalen Graphics. Oh, well, this don't look as good as her other stuff. Oh, so I guess she didn't really do her thing on your stuff, but the whole time they didn't provide you with you what you needed. And I really needed that too, because it's like I'm still at that point sometimes where it's like I just really want to help them, but it's just like helping them is letting them know, like, look, you got to go put those photos together, and you got to really get this stuff looking the way you need it to.
Not every client can be your client. And when I started my business, I was in college, so I was teaching myself Photoshop while studying law. And with me doing that, like, I was money hungry. And at that time, I was charging like $15 for logos, $15 for flyers. But I realized, I was like, you know what? I can't be so money hungry, because these money hungry clients are stressing me out while I'm in school trying to graduate. So it's one of those things. You got to like put your sanity first. You have to put your mental health first in this industry. And you got to have that tough skin, because it would be those clients that were paying $15 for logos and $15 for flyers that was stressing me out over a $2,000 client, you know? So it's just certain things that you got to ask yourself, like, is this money worth my sanity at the end of the day?
Mm. Yeah, and that's so big. And I was also reading in this book, and it was just basically saying that
Mhm.
like don't charge. You have to charge for the years that you put in for it. So after a while, because I was even doing that. Like at
Yeah.
one point, my logos were cheaper than my flyers. Like I was doing $10 logos and $25 flyers. And then after a while, you really have
I,
to get rid of limiting beliefs because a lot of times we can charge based on how we value ourselves. And that's the like the mental aspect of it and mental health that you were speaking on too. Because it's like if you don't value yourself and your value on yourself doesn't rise up as you see yourself putting in that work, you will
yeah.
never feel comfortable enough to even be able to put that number out there. So like even one thing that I did, was I just went for it. I was like, all right, I'm putting this work in. I know I do good work. Let me just ask for a little bit more. And then when that happened, you start realizing that the pricing
Yeah.
that you give is attracting a different market, is attracting a different clientele. So, and I want to ask you this too. So, because systems is really big to any business. On you watch any podcast, anything, any successful entrepreneur, they always talk about systems. So, I want to ask you this. As a social media manager and as a graphic designer, like, what are some of the systems that you have used and put in place that
Okay, so
literally
the
just made
first
your
thing,
life so much
I'm really
easier when it
big on
came to running your
organization.
business?
I realize that it's a lot of graphic designers out here that do a good job with the skill, but they're not organized. And I'm talking more so admin work, like deadline,
Mm.
calls, or when they have to do revisions, things like that. So one thing that I use is Google Calendar. That's like the top system that I use for admin work. My day-to-day task, I feel like me planning out my
Mm.
months in advance, it helps me know what I have to do for the rest of the week. It just makes me more productive just as a CEO. Like I could look forward to doing this
Mm.
live, or I could look forward to going to the event Friday.
Right.
So that's the number one thing. The second thing is also having a proper website in place. I tell my graphic design students all the time, figure out what type of system you want in your business and how you want to take clients. So for me personally, my store is basically set up where like a clothing store. You could go on my website and buy a logo, buy a flyer, but I also have some close graphic design friends where you can't go on their website anytime. You have to quote and then or fill out a form, they'll give
Yeah.
you a quote, you'll pay the invoice. So you have to figure out what type of system works best for you. I knew that system didn't work best for me only because I can't sit back and respond to emails all day. And I also that me sending out quotes wasn't as productive for me. So just try to figure
Mm.
out which one is up your lane and stick to that. So whether that's with Wix, whether it's with Honeybook, Dubstyle, yeah, it's so
Mm.
many out here. You definitely just gotta you gotta
I
tap
love it.
into. But me personally, I use Wix. I never used Honeybook, Dubsado, none of those things. However, those are effective if you do like the quote and invoice thing.
Wow. And like one of the things with me now is like I don't know if you had the same story, maybe you have, but I mean, when it just comes to doing this trial, seeing what works best, and then you start finding these things like these systems that's like, oh, it does all this. Well, this one system can cancel like all of these, and it's just so hard, like nowadays too. Like for me personally, like you just having all of this next big thing, and it's just like you really can't sit and just be like, all right, just stick to this. But I guess like what you're saying is that you literally just have to figure out what works best for you because like if you just keep trying to go for the next big thing, even when it comes to your systems, it'll never be able to be streamlined. Because like my website,
Mm-hmm.
I did okay, put the graphics up there where you can come on here, you can purchase it, and then I'll switch it up and I'll be like, maybe I should just do the consultation. And it's just
Oh.
like, and then I went through those times where it's just like it's a headache. I'm like, I'm gonna just sell straight through Instagram. And then somebody will go to my website and I'll be like, I'm not really allowing people to purchase on this. And so it's just so crazy sometimes. And like when I was like looking at your page, like when I first found your page, I was just like, man, like it just seemed like so it almost seemed like so
Thank
perfect.
you.
And then I was like, Jesus, like this looks so good. And sometimes that's what I would do too. Like I would try to look at other graphic designers and see how they was running. And just like you said, like I'll see some doing a consultation, some
That's
doing
fine.
this. Now the questions I had a springboard, but is it cool if I throw in some other ones in there too? Okay, cool. So how effective or do you
So I
even
don't
do like
sell templates.
templates, like sell
I'm
templates and
actually
stuff like
against
that?
templates. It is good
Mhm.
if you're like starting out and you need like another stream of income in your business. I did use templates when I started my business. However, one thing about me, when I started graphics, I had a lot of clients in the same area, and I don't want all my clients like having the same type of marketing. I want everyone's marketing to look different, with their own colors, with their own logo, their own fonts, all that. So that's why I stopped selling templates, because I realized that I wanted to cater to an audience where everything is fully customized around their brand. However, if you want to start selling templates, it's definitely something you could tap into. Etsy has a lot. Canva has a lot that you could easily customize. But yeah, me personally, I don't sell templates.
Okay, most definitely. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, like, all right, yeah, y'all might be doing it, but as for me, I'm gonna just go this route. So I feel like that's really good. So I know you talked a little bit about like the Google Calendar and stuff, and I'm sure that helps you, with your organization and like your scheduling. But is there any other things that you
Yeah.
would use to
So
help
I
you
would
manage
definitely say the
deadlines and
first
really
thing
like
is just setting
prioritize
alarms
tasks?
throughout the day. It's just really important for me to see what I'm about to do, what time I'm doing it. So if I tell myself, Jalen, you have an hour to work on this project, I'll literally set my alarm for 45 minutes. And then I know once the alarm goes off, I have 15 minutes left. Something else I do, I take a journal and I write out everything I have to do. And me just crossing things off as I accomplish them, it just helps me throughout the day, knowing that I'm having a productive day. So I would definitely say just writing everything down. And if you don't like the pen and paper thing, you can definitely use like Google Calendar. You can also use, I think it's called Notary or Notable, something like that. Those apps are really helpful as well. So just any apps that will just help you stay organized. And if you don't use an app or pen and papers, just use your alarm and just label the alarm what that task is.
Okay, most definitely. And since I know that you're not just a designer, like you actually teach other designers and stuff like that. So like I want to ask you like, with all of your frequently asked questions, like what comes to mind when you think about the most, like the thing that comes up most of the time, and they like when they ask the same thing, like what's
So are
like
you talking
two or
about
three
with
of those
my
things that you
Photoshop
get all the
students?
time? Yeah, because like with the designer, so it's like, do you just teach them how to design?
So
Do
I
you
do
also
both,
like coach them in
but
how to
I
actually
kind
develop their
of like
business as well?
answer all the questions as I go.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that my course is set up, so my course, number one, is beginner friendly.
Okay.
It's for all levels, but I do cater towards a beginner audience. So people who never use Photoshop, some people who take my course may not be as tech savvy. I cater to that type of audience. So the way I prepare my PowerPoints, I do it in a way where I like literally dumb the questions down and okay, I know that they may ask this question. This question may be common sense to me, but it's not to them. So for the most part, I answer everything,
Right.
even when it comes to like building your own
Right.
business. I get through the finances. I talk about the admin. I don't just talk about like the graphic side to the skill. I talk about problem situations. I'll give them like hypothetical scenarios, things like that. So I literally break it down just so they could see how it feels to be
Wow.
like in my shoes building an agency.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So like when it came to you becoming like an instructor of it, like was like when you first started, did you always see yourself or doing that, or was it like, yo, I'm
So
I'm pretty good
I've
at this. Like
always
let me
loved
teach it, or was that
teaching.
always a
Like
part of your
I
plan?
loved ever since I was little. Like even me being in middle
Wow.
school, I was teaching Sunday school at my church. Like I was always so. When it came to Photoshop, it was more so people saying
Wow.
like, "I admire your work. I see you post a tutorial. Do you do classes?" So a lot of people just started asking me. I did start off doing one-on-one courses, and then from the one-on-one courses, of course, my demand grew, and I realized that I couldn't do no more one-on-one courses. I was doing them like 5 courses a day, 5 days. So just teaching like 30 students a week, it was definitely time
Mm.
consuming. And then every student required 2 days. So now with me having like a 3-week course and it's a group course and I'm teaching at a good pace, I feel like it's better because not only are they learning from each other, but I'm also teaching them at a slower pace and I'm teaching them at a pace where they can actually like digest the information and I'm not rushing it in like 2 days. It's not cramped up, you know?
Wow. And I feel like that's so good too, because I feel like, you know, especially as, you know, being service based, like I can tell like you're really in this to actually bring people results. You know, there's some entrepreneurs, you know, they kind of in it, you know, just for the money and stuff like that. And it's like it just shows because at the end of the
Thank
day,
you.
our gift is to serve others. So I really, you know, congratulate you, you know, on doing that. Yeah, because that's really good because I feel like even when you was talking about the mental health, so it's like when you're mentally good and you're mentally prepared for and you're really running the business the right way, your heart should always be bringing value, you know, to people, you know. So that's very good. So what tips, and I know you've been giving tips this whole time, but specifically, what tips do you have, you know, to actually run a successful graphic design business? Because at the end of the day, it's always about longevity. So how can you tell a graphic designer, hey, if you want
Okay, so
longevity in
I'll
this
give
thing,
two
these are the
tips.
things
The
that you should
first
be
one is
focusing on every day.
learn how to take constructive criticism. I feel like that's really important. As a designer, not everyone will like your work. People will compare your work to the next designer. People will book you for something that you even specialize in. So just learn how to take feedback and criticism. I've had clients who didn't like 4 drafts that I provided to them. Then I also had clients who would say no versus needed. So you just have to know how to work with all types of clients. Just remember at the end of the day, constructive criticism is really good. And then the second, just remembering that all money isn't good money.
Right.
I say this, not all clients will be a good client.
Oh
And
yeah.
you have to figure out what type of clients are best for you. What does that look like? Their age, their gender, what do they do on a daily basis? So just figuring out your target audience. Those would be my top 2 tips. Thank you.
Wow, that's so good. That's so good. So you're definitely big on the whole buyer persona play, like really realizing that everybody is not your client. And for a long time, like when I started reading up on that, you know, it was still kind of hard for me to, you know, let go. And then I started getting to that point where it's just like, after you show me you're not your client, you're not my client. Okay, let me just go ahead and refund you. And when I tell you, every time I had to do that, right around the corner, something bigger and better came. And just that, like when I get those clients, like I got a client now, and I just told her, I was like, yo, if all my clients was like you, like I swear, like I have the most peaceful business, you know, ever. And just like you saying, like if you start to understand the psychographic of the people that you want, like even when you was talking about the beauty industry, because I started off doing graphics for like rappers and stuff like mixtape covers. And when I tell you, like, you probably don't know that because I don't know if you ever did that, but when I tell you, like, I went through the most drain ever. People saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this," and then when it came down to close, it didn't go. But ever since I shifted over and started working with you know, like female entrepreneurs, I mean, like it's like y'all just be like, you know, ready to go. Maybe I haven't worked with the right males, but it's just like when I've been working with like female clients, it's just been easier. The conversation, you know, the consistency, you know, the whole nine. It's just been, you know, great. So like now I want to ask you this, right? So even back to like the mental side of it, because a lot of times like I can wake up and it's just like that drain part. Because you talk about like you can set an alarm, but sometimes I can set that alarm and I don't even make it through that time block of an hour and 30 minutes. So do you ever
Um,
get in
I
those
feel
fields,
like
or you
I've
pretty good at
mastered
just like
it. Of
making
course,
yourself sit
I've been
down and just get
in
it
that
done?
situation before where I wasn't as disciplined. But I
Wow.
definitely mastered it over the years. Right now, I just know I remind myself that it's a lifestyle that I want to maintain. So in order for me to maintain that, like get up and grind every day. So just reminding yourself what's your overall why for your business. That literally like keeps me pushing day by day.
Mm.
So my why is number one
Mm.
to help
So
other
what's your why?
entrepreneurs, specifically female entrepreneurs, and I just want to see them grow through their marketing. I tell people that the marketing is like the beauty of your business, and just being a female, like we're so high maintenance, like your business is high maintenance at the end of the day. Like same way we keep our lashes
Mm.
done, our nails done, our hair done, your business should be done all the time, you know?
Wow. As soon as you said it, I just saw my
Yes.
wife taking hours in the bathroom. I was like, yo, it makes a lot of sense. So that's really good. Like that's really great because I honestly I was telling my wife this too, and it was like I feel like I learn better from like females. Like even when I was like in school and stuff like that, I don't know if it's because I grew up in a home with my mom and my two sisters, or like what it is, but it just seemed like when I'm learning from like females, it's just like I don't know, it just resonates, better with me. So I want to ask you this, like, do you like you specifically
Yes, I
only
work with
work
a
with
lot of
women, or have
males.
you ever worked with
From
like males
barbers,
at
people in
all?
the construction field, electricians. I work with all industries. However, I mainly just post females on my page. Yeah.
Okay. 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 I got you. So what's been some, like, even in the past, let's say 3 years, like some big wins that you had, that you, I mean, as much as you want to share, some big wins that you had when you were just
Okay. So
like
I'll share my
my
top
hard work
one.
is really, really paying off.
More recently, just moving to Atlanta, I feel like that has helped me a lot. Just putting myself in a different environment. Coming out here without family and stuff, just starting over, challenging. But I feel like God was just telling me, like, okay, it's time for you to put yourself in a new city, expand your business name. That's exactly what I did. So that would be like my most recent win. I'm from Maryland.
Okay, great. So where are you from? Oh, okay. So like did you move like based
It was
on
just more
business, or you
so of
moved because you
me
just felt like something
not
was
being
just pulling
pushed
you
in
in?
Maryland. I was working for a lot of people out there. I still do, but I just wanted to put myself in a new environment where people didn't know me. Like even with me visiting other cities, I go to other cities a
Mhm.
lot because I know people don't know me out there. But the more I stay out there, the more I network. That's when my brand starts to grow. So it was just that leap of faith that I took, and I just wanted something new. Like after graduating college, that was the main thing.
Okay, wow, wow, wow. So like even on the tip of like, networking, right? So like would you say like you're the person that it's easy for you to, get out there and promote yourself, or do you prefer like I'll just network with people, like through
So
online, or you
it's
pretty much
definitely
balance with that,
balanced.
or how
I
did that
believe
work with
in
you?
offline marketing and also online marketing. I feel like you should pour into both the same amount. With offline marketing, I feel like that's better for me because I like to talk a lot, and then I also like to. Oh, somebody said the talk delay kind of crazy. Okay, it's probably
On
I don't
whose
know who ended this,
end?
but
Is
we
it
about
my
to wrap up,
end
y'all.
or
It's
Jalen's
fine.
end?
Um, but yeah, I feel like offline and online is definitely good. Offline, I feel
Yeah.
like not only are you meeting that person in person, but you're also developing that trustworthy relationship. With social media, it's definitely quicker to meet someone. You could just DM them, follow them, and the conversation from there. But it's definitely both. I feel like you should point to
Yeah.
both equally.
Okay, great, great. And like I said, like all of this information, like I said, I'm gonna remain a student. So like everything, that you're going over right now, some of it isn't new information, but sometimes when you just hear it from someone, it can just be this one time where it's just like, all right, now if you didn't think that you knew what to do and you heard this again, then you need to do this. So I just hope that everybody on here, I know this was a quick and brief live, but I feel like a lot of information, really was covered. That, even if you're not a designer, like just some of these same principles can transcend different, genres of business, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's like really good, that you're actually too helping people, got great energy, and to understand that there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who don't really have that personable experience. And I pride myself in being that too. Like I like being on the phone. I like to, how's the kids, how's the family, and stuff like that. Because I feel like at the end of the day, you should always view it as like lifetime value, right? I always say I would much rather have 5 to 6 clients who I service long term than, hey, you just get a graphic here, a graphic there, and then I don't hear from you again.
Um,
So is there
I would
anything
definitely
else
say
that you
you
would
all can
like to leave the
subscribe to my
people with before we
website,
hop off of here?
jalenbolden.co. I do have some upcoming events happening in Atlanta this August. So that soon. I do want to thank you again for inviting me on your platform.
I'm
I
checking
really
those out.
appreciate it. And yeah, feel free to DM me if you all have any other questions.
And I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I can tell that you're pretty busy. and just the information, the value, and everything. It was genuine, it was real, and it was authentic. And I just wish you great success, even more
Thank you
success,
so
bigger
much.
success
Have a good
than you've
night.
already obtained. And I'm sure everybody else feels